Good afternoon, everybody. It's RT here with Hxro Labs, Nick Cote, and it is Monday, August 31st.
Happy Monday. We're here for another week.
The last day of August, and it has been a crazy one.
It's moved quick.
It's been beautiful, and it's kind of flown by. So we got September coming up tomorrow, the last month before Q4, and the bear squeeze is in full effect that we talked about last week, rallying ETH as high as $436 on Uniswap today. I don't even think that reached on the spot markets. Now, YFI has taken the market by storm. Uniswap volume explodes and Ample breaches $2. So just a few of the things we're going to talk about today. Nick has a thought on centralized exchanges and the threat to their business model being brought on by these DEXs as they expand. Layer 2s coming in to really scale those up and all that. So before we dive in to all of those things, and I've actually got a list here of about 10 different altcoins I want to touch on. A number of them just putting in these beautiful retests on support in the pump chaser zone. ETH BTC looking bullish. So we're going to talk about how we'll be approaching that and share some ideas that could age really well through September. But before we get into all that, I want to get Nick on here to share with us about equities, commodities, what he's seeing in the legacy markets. You know me, I'm a crypto guy. I haven't even looked at those yet or really ever do other than when I check in with Nick. So let's start there, as there is a bit of a trickle-down effect sometimes from those markets, S&P and all that.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Awesome. Yeah. So, obviously the biggest announcement to come out of last week was the Fed comments from Powell, basically a huge shift in monetary policy, which, sent the US dollar downwards on higher inflation risks and expectations. The 5-year and the 10-year are now up to 1.8%. That's up 1% from the March lows. Why is this significant for crypto? Because a lot of people view crypto, especially Bitcoin, as an inflationary hedge. And we can take a quick look at the Bitcoin chart, actually, because I want to show you, we talk a lot about the institutionalization of this space and how this space, especially Bitcoin, the asset, is maturing and it's responding. That sign of maturing is responding to macroeconomic announcements and policy shifts, such as what we saw last week. Bitcoin was, kind of grinding these lows, a little head and shoulders pattern. Powell comes out, boom, all the shorts completely wiped out, $400 pump in, about an hour, and then faded. This is a move that is very common for FX traders. It's the Darth Maul. Generally, you fade the initial impulse after a news announcement, and then you get into the market will start trending shortly after that. That's exactly what happened here with Bitcoin. Just confirm those 11,000. So this action, we've seen this now twice. This is the third time, 3 for 3 that we've had this type of move. So traders should probably be taking a mental note of how this market responds to Fed announcements and capitalize on those appropriately right now. So then what we're looking at, the Dixie also responded in kind, falling below that key 92 level. But the macro bulls are not dead just yet. Pull this thing out. Where are we going to be looking for this to really find support? Well, we love our Wyckoff theory. So we're targeting this level down here. As long as this holds, and I'm pretty confident we're going to see a bounce here. I think our initial projections are going to be okay. If we again see USD strength come in for just a bounce, this is still long-term bearish. It's okay. We will see a little dip in crypto. Still a buying the dip opportunity, especially with this historic shift in macro policy around inflation. Normally, they're just targeting that 2%. They've now said that they're open to higher amounts of inflation, which can be dangerous. Inflation is one of those things. It's it's the Pandora's box. Once it's open, it's very hard to put back. I think Turkey's about to experience the downside of high inflation. I don't know if they're going to go into hyperinflation, which would basically be the end of the Turkish lira, but they're definitely running a tail end risk of that right now. In equities, it's earnings season once again. The tech stocks just continue to crush. I just don't see any reason why they're not going to continue to crush. Their market dominance and market share of the market just continues to climb as small businesses get squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. Amazon making new highs. And so over this next week, we're going to have the Q2 quarterly earnings coming in, expecting pretty good numbers from the tech stocks. So no reason that the S&P should be dipping here. As long as we hold above the previous highs down here at 33.90, very confident that we'll form a base down here. And if we do that going into the election, depending on the outcome, if it's a Trump victory, the markets will continue going up. Biden's policies aren't necessarily totally clear right now. So there's probably more downside risk with Biden than with Trump right now. And sure enough, we were saying, when you have price consolidating at a resistance like this, which we will turn to crypto because it's doing the exact same thing right now. When it finally does bust through, you get these high momentum breakouts, right? It's not something you want to be fading. We're waiting for this to come back down and retest that, and that would be the next logical buy. So keep an eye on the earnings stuff. Coming at the end of the bell here in a couple hours, Zoom Communications is up 300%. Its user growth is phenomenal. Its revenues are upticking. And this is all going to be bullish for commodities as well. Inflation, anytime you have the I word, commodities generally tend to continue their trend, which is up right now. As long as this continues to hold its former all-time high levels there at 1900, these things look pretty good for continued upside. Similarly to what we just said with the S&P, we've had a 4-week consolidation period here now, putting us at higher lows. So when this range does break, say this 2080 level, expect another high momentum breakout and follow up, similar to what we had here when it broke the yearly resistance, right? We can see, again, we consolidated below the resistance for a very long time, flip that resistance to support per Wyckoff, breaks through, and what do? You get a $350 gold move in less than a month. Obviously, it's nothing for crypto. It's big for this. It's a $7 trillion plus market, so it's pretty significant. Similarly, in platinum, which is probably lagging actually, gold and silver, we'll be looking for continuations in those trends as well, which is all going to be positive for Bitcoin, crypto as a whole, Ethereum. I think we're still, again, pretty early in this retail cycle. I don't expect retail to really get interested in this space until we're starting to clear out some big highs. I'm talking, 14K plus, and then obviously breaking the all-time high. People, at the end of the day, why would they wait for all-time highs? Because they want to buy into a confirmed trend, right? It's very similar to why we always advise waiting for the expansion moves versus trading range. The probability of continuation increases significantly once you clear certain levels, and that's the exact same theory here.
Beautiful. Well, Arthur actually just had a brilliant idea. He's requesting that you right-click the chart on TradingView and add a watermark for those who maybe hop in late, maybe on their phone, having a hard time seeing that ticker in the top left. So if you can do that on yours, I've got it on mine, and it's not a bad idea at all. We were actually going to be looking at a more fancy overlay, but I think this watermark is a great solution for now. And if you are ready to wrap the legacy stuff, if you had any other thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, I am really keen to share my ETH BTC chart because it just looks.
Yeah, let's dive into it. Again, just the biggest takeaway there is the big shift in monetary policy from inflation and how that's going to be a net positive for crypto, commodities, and equities moving forward, as well as putting some downside momentum and risk on the US dollar.
Beautiful. That's what I like to hear, because when you leave the bear gang and join the bull again, it makes me feel a little comfier in my positions, because I'm pretty much long and strong most of the time. So here we go on ETH BTC. This is a chart we've been tracking obviously for quite a while, and so you'll see it quite marked up, each level covered, and we had a triple bullish divergence as we came in here. That's basically just saying we had 3 different bullish divergences come in on each move lower, which gave me an idea that internally this thing looked very strong. Obviously, the fundamentals are strong. We're seeing a huge rise on Uniswap and other kinds of yield farming, and how many ETH are locked up. Now, YFI is taking the world by storm. So not surprised to see ETH BTC break out. And this confirmation was this candle. I believe it was Friday. And we put out a tweet to that effect. Basically, this close here is the confirmation that we are ready to move higher. There was a resistance just above, so if you wanted to wait for that, cool. But naturally, when that breaks, it's a bit of a, hard candle to catch. And we're just continuing higher. Now, on the 3-day, zoomed out, I've still got my October date up here. We are pushing our way up that way. And if you think that this can't happen. It just looks insane. Too good to be true. You're right there with me. It does look too good to be true, but it's just a GAN vibrational signature. And so I've got it up there. It's not about making big fancy calls. It's just a target based on one of the tools that I like to use. And it doesn't seem that crazy to me, given all this sort of internal bullishness, the huge rise in use. We're going to see right here on the gas fees. I mean, there's a clear trend. I mean, there's a massive demand right now for Ethereum, use of the Ethereum network. And, I've spoken to some people that say, well, when the usage gets that high, it's bearish for Ethereum. And, there's some, I get why they would say that, but I'm just not buying it. I mean, I think bottom line is this is proof that there is real demand for this right now, whether that's just to get on Uniswap, whether that's to be getting in on some of these new like ILOs, the new iteration of an ICO from 2017. There's huge gains to be made. And there's also a lot of money to be made simply staking liquidity or posting liquidity on things like Uniswap. So to do that, you have to have a lot of the token. You have to have a matching amount of the Ethereum. And so just one of these other reasons why the demand and the gas fees are clearly rising. It's also opening the way for layer 2 solutions, other scaling solutions, and of course, the big push for Ethereum 2.0. So I'm really bullish on Ethereum, if you can't already tell. I had this chart on the USDT as far as trading the range goes. So once we rolled over here and had the bearish retest, ABC harmonic downwards, almost got the perfect tag. Again, got front run on my 367 that I was looking for by a couple bucks. No big deal. Bullish market structure last weekend, retest and go. And sure enough, we arrived right up here in the short RLZ. Bears showed up to take profits on that trade, and we just keep pushing higher. So for now, what I'll be watching is the momentum, is the volume, because generally speaking, if trading the range, this is actually an area where I want to be hunting shorts. Down here, when it was super bearish, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to short here. If I'm bearish, I'm going to wait for this kind of a squeeze play. If it comes, if it doesn't, it doesn't. If the trade sets up, cool. Right now, I'm very nervous to be shorting this at all. I've got some Ethereum in a spot position. I know, Nick, I believe you said you longed this move and you closed that out. I mean, as far as like futures go, you're just like, yeah, that's a nice trade and I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is a place to be taking new longs. I mean, as far as just, longer term success as a trader, you don't want to wait for like a $50 move and then start jumping in on the long side. So the long has come and gone on this range. Now we're up into an area where I'm either waiting for a big breakout on volume, which honestly at this exact moment is where I'm leaning towards. But if not, we're going to get a rollover here, and that will provide an opportunity to spot something like we had back here in mid-August. And I'll just draw that up so that anyone looking and wondering what the hell I'm talking about can see. Right now we've made a high. We've made a higher high. If price rolls over here, eventually, if it's going to go down, it will have that sort of M-top market structure fail. And when that happens, that's confirmation to me that we are continuing to range. And if that is the case, then we can look for those short RLZ squeezes off of a move initially down like this. So maybe it pops up and then continues. So if we get that confirmed bearish market structure up here, that's the kind of range trade I would be looking for. And as I said now for almost 2 weeks, I do expect ranging at this level before any significant, trend continuation or change. And that is all based on this big shock that came into the market on August 1st. So you get a nice big trend, something like this happens, and then it just seems more likely that we're going to have that shakeout. And you're seeing that on the Bitcoin chart as well, where the big shock came into the market, and then it's just range, fail, range. And again, there's a bit of a fractal going back to right here. Same kind of thing, right? Nice big strong trend, shock into the market, range. Didn't make the breakout at all. Ranged and consolidated some more and then continued. So whatever we're going to do from here, I would not be shocked at all if we don't do it anytime soon. And we could just continue ranging. In which case, you just want to be really careful that you're not getting super bearish at the range lows, super bullish at the range highs, because that is how the market takes money back from you. So careful trading this range as if it's a trend. And if we are going to break out to new highs with momentum and volume, careful rushing to short it on that breakout, because that would be a trend continuation signal. So that's my 2 cents on the majors zoomed in this range. I think the dominance chart is looking really juicy after getting rejected here. We had one big scary fake out where this actually printed an anomaly, which it closed a candle way up here. But sure enough, 2 days later that disappeared and we're back down testing these lows. If these lows break, That would likely happen in unison with a break of the highs here on ETH BTC. So you're just going to see, which one leads the other. It's really Ethereum, Bitcoin likely leading this. And then you'll see it on the dominance chart. And we've talked about this before, but I mean, the real upside in altcoins, the real rally, the FU face melt, crypto's back, let's go. That rally happens if these lows break and we just get a strong continuation down. I mean, you can see where dominance was once upon a time, okay, right at the end of the Super Bull market at the end of 2017. Dominance dropped as low as 36%. I don't know that I would be in any rush to say we're headed there anytime soon, but it's the break of this low. I mean, you ain't seen nothing yet. If that happens, we are going to see some absolute tears in the market to the bullish side. So I'd be really, cautious to rush again to be shorting this market, calling tops on it, saying it's got to go down just because it went up so much. In many ways, I think we haven't seen anything yet. Just zoom out and ask yourself, what is the total value of crypto versus, say, something like Apple stock? Do that math right now. One stock. Granted, it's a huge one, but the total crypto cap is still smaller than that. And I believe we have a total market cap actually in our ideas section. And I was speculating about, what was it, a month ago, a couple weeks ago, that I think this was going to rush up to 420 billion. I just thought that was kind of funny because, crypto would be a 420 hit. And we've got some targets up there as far as continuation ABCD. This is the total market cap. We are headed in that direction. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see us push higher here into September, at the very least, closing out Q4 on a mega bull. I always kind of hold my breath around tax selling season and the end of year and getting that sell-off retrace. So if I had to call some kind of more fundamental thing around the election in November, I would be looking to those kind of things for that to happen. In fact, I have a Squiggly punt. Let's see how it's doing. I literally just called it Squiggly punt. I haven't looked at it in quite a while.
I bet it's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I bet I think it puts us at something real fancy for ETH. Yeah. So, okay. So here, for the sake of crystal balls, for the sake of making big, bold, distant predictions, which again aren't that helpful for traders, but I think as far as, I like doing this stuff. Sometimes it's fun. Get a squiggly on there. So a move up to around 600 for Ethereum would be a 382 retrace of this huge move down. So that's a pretty typical retrace on any move. And it's like we see in the pump chaser fib that we talk about all the time. It's that 382, and it goes both ways. So 600 would take us to that on the high time frames. It would also mark a 50-50 Gann date that I showed you guys here up in October. Nice big high. Is that $600 if you compare it to US dollars? Maybe. So that's another thought there. And I want to get back here. So the November 3rd election would be right around this top as well, if it did follow this kind of a path. Then you get the election, maybe it's Biden, who knows, rolls over. There's a shock in the market. Tax selling, end of year shakeout continues that. Maybe some other random news that comes out that makes everyone scared of this, or some other new platform that threatens you. Who knows? But it's this kind of pivot. If I was in the mood to say, like, we go to top somewhere, it's more like these dates, October, November, end of year. And imagine what a sick move that would be. I mean, who knows where it would go down to, but if that was the fib I drew and it did hit those highs. So again, this is sort of a punt that I threw out there, and I think it would make sense and it would hit and satisfy some retraces and levels we needed to test to make a stronger push. And then you get that ETH 2.0 launch and everyone goes, oh yeah, ETH is super bullish. So again, not really a prediction, but something I wanted to put out there for fun, and I've been watching. So we'll see how this shakes out through the fall. I'm pretty excited, and it does look really strong from this view, having just tapped that EMA. Lastly, on the macro side, I want to take a quick look at ETH Dominance, which is getting a nice boost today, as you might expect. We're up to almost 14%, which is right up here. So we're pushing for 14. Next major level on this is 16%. And I was reading some interesting threads. We retweeted them earlier, so follow us on @Hxro Labs, and you can check out this thread that was put out, basically just explaining what YFI does, why it's so exciting. And in a nutshell, it's an aggregator of yields. So you just park whatever asset you want in there that they support, and they will place it in the highest yielding place basically, and get you the best yields automatically, and probably take some kind of fee for the service. So it's a pretty cool idea. It takes the whole yield farming thing and just superpowers it. So it's not a surprise. We should actually just pull that chart up, and I want to pull it up here because I have a feeling the Binance chart doesn't do it justice, because it was a lot cheaper before it hit Binance, and this thing is absolutely rocketed. If you've been on Twitter at all, you probably see it every other tweet. Have you noticed that, Nick?
Yeah, it's basically all that anybody's talking about right now. Like, it displaced Bitcoin.
I mean, look at this thing. It's insane. Actually, I have it on the USD chart. We've been tracking it, and on the 4-hour, I mean, it's just obliterating all targets. It did stop at the 618 extension real quick, so there was some profit taking there, as you'd expect on these kinds of extensions. Somebody somewhere is going to trade that level, and that's why you often see a pause there. Now, in this case, it continued back up into the next extension drawn off that first impulse, and then consolidated just below, and now we're pushing higher again.
And now you got Binance with up to 50x leverage on this thing as well.
Yeah, the futures just launched on it. So, people probably rushing into short saying 38,000 seems expensive. I think there's only 30,000 of these coins. They do give you a sense of governance on the protocol. So we'll see how popular this stays. But one of the interesting iterations that has come from it. Looks like Chart X Pro is shit the bed on this chart. So no worries there. But there's a few other YF coins that naturally in a bull market, you get something huge that takes everyone's imagination by storm, and they're like, oh my God, look at this thing. And then it's like, well, what's just like that hasn't pumped yet? That's what we call echo pumps. And we're seeing that in things like YFV that had a really nice breakout down here around, what is it, like 20 bucks last weekend, and just flipped that level and then took off. And I think we're also seeing it on YFL, which is something based around Link, getting a yield from staking Link. Again, something I would have to read into a little more in depth. I'm mostly looking just at the tickers here, because when you get a big thing like YFL, YFI, you tend to find these echo pumps. And look at this thing. I mean, absolute insanity on some of these YF coins. So as always, be careful chasing these kinds of highs. It's not as easy as just like, oh, look, it's mooning, I'll just grab some and it'll carry me. Usually by the time you FOMO in, it's this sort of psychological top or technical top, and it's dangerous stuff. But no doubt that these YFs are moving, and there's quite a few of them, and I'm sure there will be a lot of copycats coming out to even improve on what YFI is doing. So stay tuned for that. Now, you have thoughts right now, Nick, on what this kind of DEX stuff could mean for centralized exchanges. Do you want to expand on that for everybody? Maybe we can pull up a visual or some data.
Yeah, sure. So basically, exchanges have had a monopoly on the gatekeeper of projects getting access to liquidity via their market listings. Obviously, DEX technology has been in the works for the past 10 years almost, and the technology just wasn't able to keep up. The liquidity was siloed off. There was no pooled liquidity. So it could never really threaten the centralized business model of these exchanges. However, Uniswap, for the first time, I think yesterday, it was yesterday, they had a 20% higher 24-hour volume turnaround than Coinbase, one of the largest US exchanges by volume as well. So this trend that we've identified early on is clearly picking up steam. And some of these exchanges are charging hundreds of thousands of dollars for these listings, which can be a huge barrier to entry for projects that are fresh, or like they basically just have to do a full raise just to get listed on these exchanges, right? But a lot of that, its leverage as a gatekeeper is fading. When you have exchanges like Uniswap, Balancer, I think we'll be talking about BitShares later today. All these places are now picking up traction, lots of volume, lots of liquidity coming in, all-time highs every single day. And these centralized exchanges are now rushing to add these new tokens to remain competitive. How many new Uniswap listings do we have every day, right? So it's driving market share away from them towards these other projects. So if, as a retail-focused exchange, you have to stay with the trends. This is one of the advantages of FTX. They're very quick at adding new products and new asset classes to stay fresh, and people resonate with that. So I think once they their user base is less retail focused, more programmable traders and algo traders and things like that. But with their recent acquisition of Blockfolio, the hope is there that they're going to be driving a lot more retail volume to them. So I think centralized exchange models of these listings, the days are numbered. I think they're going to have to come. It's free listing versus paying $150,000. Right. So what are projects going to go with? What are they going to prioritize for marketing and stuff? Obviously, still, getting listed on Coinbase, it's still a major achievement. You can look at the listings that have come over the last few weeks. Yes, there are substantial boosts, but the point here is that I think their revenue model here is going to be threatened. And if they don't adapt, then they're going to be losing a lot of business. And I just think we're going to be seeing a lot more free and frequent listings moving forward. I think we're going to see a lot more headlines like this. Right. So it's definitely an interesting time, and it would be great if we can get an exchange owner on here to kind of talk about this stuff for sure. But it's essentially these DEXs are just removing barriers to entry, and I think that's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, we worked that out with the centralized exchanges. Yeah, so their business model is going to be threatened, and it's pretty clear. Like, look, when we first started looking at this stuff, we had less than $1 billion locked in. Fast forward 2.5 months, it's 7x at $7 billion. So clearly, what this means, it's money being taken away out of the market from the centralized exchanges. They're not just going to sit there and watch their market share fall. They're going to chase the trends, right? And again, with the current growth that we have here, I just don't see this stopping anytime soon. But what we do predict that's going to be happening, and I think the IRS or SEC governance put a little document yesterday saying that microtransactions and activities in crypto, around cryptocurrency payments, and for farming, for example, those are taxable events. The nightmare, I can't even imagine the nightmare of having to go through all that stuff. But the point is that this Wild West is definitely going to be reined in at some point. And a lot of these tokens, like governance and issuing dividends and things, are they going to be perceived as securities? Let's see, right? But I think obviously within a decentralized protocol, they can't just shut it down, but they can definitely go after the central entities that manage these projects on a day-to-day basis. And especially when a new project launches, to some degree, having some centralized control isn't a bad thing. Obviously, with the governance stuff, we've seen huge what's the word? Huge amounts of the governance just being centralized within one or two parties, or the exchanges just having the votes proxied to them. So that all creates initial risks. I think it's going to get smoothed out over time. Once the protocols are stable, the smart contracts, they've been thoroughly audited, we don't have bugs and all that nature, then it's okay to decentralize the control and things. But I am a believer that having some type of control over the protocol early on is a good thing for its growth, so you can work out any issues that come up. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have these large-scale hacking, exploit events from these testing and production philosophies, and eventually, a group of people are going to lose a lot of money. Like we're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars flooding into these new, farming protocols, and I think Sushi was the latest one. It's just a matter of time until something explodes. But definitely keep an eye on what the regulators are going to be doing in this space. I would, we're coming into the election now, but I would definitely be expecting over the next couple quarters to start getting some guidance from the SEC on this stuff. They're not naive and oblivious as they were, say, between like 2015 and 2016 and stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to catch up. Now, just checking that my sound is back. I believe it is. So, sorry, guys. I got bumped by Rendezvous. It just randomly goes, "You've been disconnected." And then when I come back in, our producer, John, God bless him, has to plug me back into each shot. So now you know. I think the thing with Yearn, and you were just kind of touching on it, with how many hundreds of millions of dollars are being parked into these new DeFi things. And it's kind of freaky if you think about it, because they're so new. It says right on the website, this project is in beta, use at your own risk. I mean, who's plugging $400 million into this thing that basically says, you know, you might just get locked into a smart contract forever, like no key? Like, I mean, it may not be as simple as that, but I am actually kind of shocked with how much money is being parked on these things for these yields. And I mean, some of the yields are great if you think about traditional banks where it's like, okay, you're getting 2% in like a high interest, quote unquote, high interest savings. And then you come into this yield thing and it's like 7, 10, 12% yields, maybe even more. And especially the way that Yearn Finance kind of moves you around to the best yields, you would think, you know, 10% would be a minimum. And so that's really sexy. But then there's this little caveat emptor that's like, hey, we're in beta, use at your own risk. I mean, it's a pretty massive disclaimer for somebody who's trying to park a huge amount of money. So, I mean, me personally, I did park $1,000 in Yearn Finance like a month ago just to see what the overnight yields would be like. Because I was like, oh, why is this so popular? And I think I made a couple of cents over a day or two, and that's cool. But I realized that the real money, at least the way I'm playing in the market, is in speculating on some of these assets surrounding it, like YFI, like comp, whatever, you know, whatever token you want to play with. I'm not here for 10% over the next year. You know what I mean? I want to trade these things that are going up 500% in a week. So personally, I haven't put any money into any of these smart contracts. I pulled that 1,000 out. It was a nice little test. And I quickly realized that, you know, even YFI was moving faster than whatever yield it might get me to just park money. So, you know, shout out to whoever's putting hundreds of millions of dollars into these things. You are one bold son of a bitch.
I don't think we're going to see any slowdown in this anytime soon until we get that major rug pull as well. Like, there's just too much money to be made.
Yeah, like that DAO 2.0 kind of thing.
Yeah, I do think the technology's come a long way since then, but you know, it's still new iterations of new tech. So you know, you're going to run into unknowns at some point, especially when you're testing in production at the scale that we are.
Yeah, and I think some of the more OG, like for example, YFI seems like a slightly safer play than the third copycat that comes out a week later, YFI, and it's just like, you know, oh, there's a bug. I mean, thinking back to Yams a couple of weeks ago, I can pull up that chart. It's kind of hard to look at, but it's a stark reminder that these things are best used with small risk, big reward opportunities. If it's an asymmetric risk asset, something that could go 100x, you don't have to bet the farm to make serious money. I mean, just, you know, it's all based in percentages. So I'll just throw this number out there for what I might consider a more average portfolio is in the 5 to 10K range. Who knows? But just say you throw $500 into one of these things and you're thinking 100x. And, you know, that's 50K. That's a really huge amount. You don't have to put in a big percentage of your portfolio to these things, especially some of the newer crazy ones. I think Yam came up and then died in the first 2 days. Kind of hard to look at. So always giving that sort of special reminder that you can manage risk first and still get a big juicy reward. Now, why don't you tell us about the wrapped BTC on Ethereum? Because I know you're dying to share that because it's absolutely mooning, as you've been talking about. And then I want to get into some heat map stuff, like what's pumping today, and then we're going to get into some juicy setups. I've got a few in here that I want to share. Then we'll end off, in case anyone's wondering, we're going to end off with our community requests, and they will run as long as they run.
Yeah, like, you know, when this thing was under 100 million, said this was going to $1 billion by the end of the year. We're sitting at 655 million. The trend is increasing. We're already up another 5,000 BTC and total wrapped onto Ethereum in the past like 72 hours. This thing isn't going to stop. I'm looking at Twitter and I'm seeing more and more people realizing that, oh yeah, sound money is great, but you know, earning yield is a little bit more attractive for my assets. You know, there is a little bit of a FUD campaign going on. I saw from the Keep founder Matt there on wBTC. People are complaining that, yeah, it's a honeypot, one contract, you know, has up to I think it's over 9,000 BTC right now. They technically do have access to that. If they wanted to take it all, I guess they could. Why would they do that when they're building something at the scale that they are? The long-term benefits would definitely outweigh the short-term gains, despite the large figure. Regardless, REN BTC continues to gain traction. I don't see this slowing down anytime soon. It's not like it was some mystery that it was all documented. There was no mystery of how REN functioned or anything like that. The point is, the underlying bid for Ethereum and Ethereum applications on top of that layer are going to continue to soar as people move over there, especially into the DeFi and these yielding coins and stuff. Which, like Colin said here, just be careful with rushing into the clone of the clone, right? There's only so many developers in this space that have a really solid understanding of the tech and the code, being able to actually financially and design these products competently. I think we will see insurance products rolling out here very quickly. I think here in finance, I think Andre, the machine, he's rolling out an insurance thing. I saw a tweet yesterday. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some protections coming in here. But again, that's iteration version 1. There might be bugs, there might not be, but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
And, yeah, I think if nothing else, that's just got to be the number one rule. Never ever put all your eggs in one basket, because we are in the midst of a potential transfer, a wealth transfer that it could be for the ages. And the only way that you can fuck that up is by getting max liquidated or going all in on a rug pull. Number one rule, always make sure you have your capital to be participating in the market. And I don't think there would be anything more depressing than watching the market roar ahead, as we expect it will over the next couple of years and even more, and just not be part of that because you got greedy or you thought you had found, a diamond in the rough and you just went all in on it. Can't stress that enough. Just don't do it. Doesn't matter. There's no amount of upside in one play that could make it worth risking being out of the market forever. It's just insane. So I think that's enough cautionary tales for now, because I think most people watching this know that by now. And I just want to get into some of these shitcoin ideas. What do you say, Nick? Should we dive into some charts that are worth trading?
I got my goggles and snorkel on, so let's go.
Okay, now we're going to wrap more a little later. We'll end up into sort of the community requests where we get a lot of these fresher coins. Right now, I really want to share a few actually from Binance that are on my radar. So if you could flip over to my screen here, I've got a I don't have my share up. Let me get my share back on. Bing, boom, bop. There it is. All right, should be good. There we go. All right, so again, YFB, I do have a bag. I picked it up at $24. I forget what day it was, a couple days ago, but on this flip here. So for what it's worth, I think, again, just for the YF rally kind of shit, I think this thing could continue to run. I mean, look at the volume coming in on this. Clear explosion in volume. So I'm just going to hold this now. I've obviously got a fairly safe entry. I think buying this retest here would be the next play. It's already happened once. Could it happen again? Is there an opportunity to get in maybe at this kind of a pullback here, 0.5? Here's your RLZ. It's actually parked right in this pump tracer zone here. So there's something to be said for taking a look at YF coins. And I think it's JB in our chat here who just said the TVL crossed 400 million today on YFB. So that sounds bullish. Now, I got a few that I want to talk about that are a little more OG. You can see Ren just making moves here. I had that up while you were talking, but I want to look at ADA. Ooh. Mike is just sitting here minding its business. Apparently, sometimes it gets muffled. Let me just touch it, see if it fixes it. Testing. 1, 2. Are we back? Oh, yeah, this is an odd thing. It's a nice mic. Maybe I'll just do an unplug, replug later. You never know. But taking a look at ADA here, it has reacted really nicely to this 950 support that we've been watching over the weekend. And that kind of a bounce, not seeing huge volume come in, but you can see price and bulls are stepping in at the 950 mark. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look, sort of ADA was early in this rally, kicking off really in June and then ripping faces up into this extension level. So this is, it's easy to lose sight of these when all this other excitement has come along in the market. One of the things that I like to do is keep an eye on some of these larger names. Again, it's fair to say ADA is not going to be rug pulling anytime soon, right? So are you going to get 10x tomorrow? Nope. But is your downside risk a little more manageable and your exit scam risk pretty much zero? Yes. And so there is something to be said for these. So we will keep looking at them and charting them. 950 support makes for a decent stop loss here, because if it breaks below that, there's a nice big gap here, and I would imagine we'll move right back down. So it's setting up a decent location here for a trade. Another one, SXP. This is one I am already long on. I'm kind of thinking about adding. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I will be looking into this, and we'll continue to watch it. Basically got the confirmed bullish market structure over the weekend, which doesn't mean, up and away right away, but it tells me that dips are for buying. So when it comes back down below this level, that's that sort of retrace. So I can draw it up off the bottom here, and I can drag that up to the top wick, and there's your pump chaser zone. And as you can see, after confirmation, it often will pull back and tag that. It has broke out of it today, more of a bearish retest, and it's back in. So we could consolidate here for a bit. I think worst case scenario, if we're a bull, is that we would come back down into this RLZ area. And that's where a lot of people will be tempted to say it failed and they'll get out, when in fact that is very common for these little breakouts to come down, shake out through here, and then you get that. So I see this as confirmation that we are headed higher on the higher time frames after breaking through this trend line. So anything down into this RLZ for me will be hold or add. And if we really crap out and lose these lows, I'll have to suck it up and sell my bag and take a loss and move on to the next one. I don't expect that to happen, obviously, because I'm still long, but it's always possible. And I think a lot of that will depend on what we see from the majors like ETH BTC and ETH+USD. Look at this thing. It's pushing higher right now. We might get a massive, please set an alarm there, Nick. If we're going to break.
I'm watching.
I know. It's like,
the highs there.
I'm just waiting to hear your bells go off. If we get a big wick up, breakout above 445, we got to see that live. Now I got a little list here. DUSK is another one. So SXP, got DUSK is one. In our ideas section, actually should just pull that up at this point, but same kind of thing. Really strong breakout, push to highs, back into the pump chaser zone. And on the higher time frames, I just see lots of target objectives up here. So if we are going to get some more rallies in the market, again, everything's pointing that direction right now, then I would expect to see a fairly large expansion move right up into this area, which is basically just over a 2x from here. So love seeing that. I know a lot of guys in the trading pit are holding DUSK right now, so you might be happy to know that. Now, a break below this level, again, probably invalidate my own trade, and I'll get the fuck out because I want to put my money where I think it's going to go in the direction I want. But for what it's worth, DUSK looks like a really strong project. I know Messi's really long on it, and he likes it, and he's talking about it. I think something to do with like privacy and DEX. I don't know. I won't pretend that I did the research myself, but DUSK looks strong. Swap back at the trend line. But remember, last week, the TLDR was basically it's not ready. Strong project, not quite ready. And trend lines generally a riskier area to be taking longs off of. So,
especially those that haven't had a lot of touches on them. Generally, my rule of thumb with those is, the more touches on the trend line, the higher weighting you can give it.
As far as like over time.
Yeah, it's like only a 3 on this one.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens here. You can see I drew up some ideas of where I expected it to come down to. The white line has sort of been confirmed now. We did bounce up here. It did not get that continuation. So I'd say this one is off the table, and we're looking at something a little deeper and perhaps more prolonged. Again, this thing was up over 320x from its original pre-sale, which is just in July. So there's a ton of people in here that are able and willing to take profit, and there's a lot of people up here who will sell at a loss if it continues to go down. So I think there's more sellers than buyers right now, which is what we're seeing in price. Probably going to take some time down here to consolidate, and then we'll see what we can do off of this level. And I think the reason I'm not seeing what I thought I was going to see, because I had it drawn up. Yeah, so the trend line on the USD chart is a little more pronounced. If that breaks down, you're going to see some panic. You're probably going to see a few wicks. It's really this 55 cent kind of level. Again, this stilt, that's a really important level. I don't even really want to see new highs if I'm a swap holder without fixing this, because that's basically a gap, and most likely it's going to have to get filled sometime. Why not do it now? And I will certainly be, get it over with. Pull the Band-Aid off. I will be keeping a very close eye on swap. I love this project. I was in the pre-sale, got out through some of this consolidation, closed out the very last bit of my bag up here because why not? And I really want back in. I feel a little bit naked without it. I think 55 cents is my sweet spot I'll be looking for. And if I don't get it, well, I'll have to catch some bullish market structure heading up and chase it. Because I do want to have at least a bag enough to be eligible for their new ILOs, right? Every new project they have, if you're a swap holder, you get in on it. And I want a piece of that. So it's my 2 cents on swap. I think I'm hogging the mic here, but I'm really excited because I got all these things lined up. I'm going to go to ALGO. And then maybe we'll switch over, Nick, if you've got some fire you want to drop.
Oh, I got a bunch of ones from the community posts there lined up. We got
RUNE. Okay, perfect. So you tackle the community stuff because I've got this list. I've still got Algo, Ambrosius, Atom, BNB, STX. I got so many ideas right now. And Algo is pulled into an interesting level. Again, I mean, I hope you guys are paying attention to these fib extensions because if you want to be a trader, I mean, this stuff is crazy how clockwork this area is at take profits and just more. It's crazy. It's really exciting, fun to watch. And then, of course, if you're really bullish on something, you can take that profit and you can park it back in at that higher low.
No, I can hear. It's just Colin's gone, I think. Yeah, I got all my charts pulled up here. All right. Well, Colin's just connected while he sorts that out. Probably his computer exploded. Who knows? Let's take a look at some of these community requests. We got some good ones here. RUNE. I know there was a really, really large, I think it was like a 350K buy order on RUNE on FTX the other day. What does he know? I don't know. But what I can tell you, what I know is that this is coming back into the Wyckoff buy zone. This is something that we talk about a lot, and this is exactly why there's just no need to chase pumps. So what did we have here, right? You got a pretty pronounced resistance. It finally breaks through, right? And what happens? It comes right back down to retest it. So we've already had that first test. So remember what we look for when we're coming back down. We look for the first retest. Boom, it's going to bounce up a little bit. And if we get that higher low, what's this going to do? It's confirming this. It's confirming the support level here. And then we would expect a move higher here. So that's what we're looking for on RUNE right now. So this 9375 level, pretty important to hold here as support. It'll confirm, if it does hold here, it will confirm market structure. It'll confirm the momentum and give you a pretty high risk to reward opportunity to take another long on this. Again, there's no reason to chase these things. More often than not, they're going to come back. This is the most bullish market structure that we're looking for. If it does fail here, well, where do we think it's going to go? Well, you got a nice trend line. It's going to be a very messy trend line here, by the way. Sorry for that. But yeah, we would be expecting a retest back down to these levels right here, kind of the medium of the range. Again, as long as the majors are doing really well right now, I don't expect that to happen. But something to keep in mind, if this level does fail here, expect downside to retest this trend line kind of around like that 8125. But right now, chart looks pretty good. Market structure's trying to confirm up here. It's all good. I guess quickly move over to REN. We love this thing. We were just talking about it at the top of the show. Very similar, just Wyckoff theory here. What have we had? We've had the breakout, moved over the resistance, and it's come back to retest it. That's ongoing right now. Let's take this down to an hourly to give you a better picture of why we like this. And here, look at that. So sure enough, where does support found? Exactly at the previous resistance levels. These are going to be your highest, your highest probability areas of reversals and for continuation. So what are we going to be looking for in REN here at this point? Again, this is an hourly, so this is intraday movements. So expand your time frame a little bit when we're talking about this. So we've had the initial breakout. It did not sweep these highs. So these still need to be claimed, right? It's come back down here, confirming the market structure. If we get this first, we'll take this first low here. If we bounce back up a little bit, reconfirm it, same idea. I think at that point, we'll then be okay to go sweep off these highs. The amount of BTC being wrapped on REN continues to increase. The FUD should die down. It's pretty weak. Like I said, all of this was documented in their white papers and other documentation provided 6 months ago. So there's nothing new here, but the market structure looks good. As long as these lows here down here at 38 cents holds, this looks like a pretty healthy market to me. And in my opinion, if we are in a trending bull market right now in the early days of it, we will be taking these highs at some point. Finally, let's move over to DOTS. We've been a huge proponent of this project for almost a year now. Where are we looking at for support? It's all the way down here, 4.7, 4.8. You can see, we had slight consolidation period. The market rips up. This thing has been getting front run, which is historically a pretty good sign of an strong underlying bid on this market, as well as momentum. This is a cracking USD chart. I just use it because I believe they were one of the first ones to allow for deposits for staking and stuff. The idea here, again, very simple. This is just a diagonal. It's only had 2 touches of it, so I don't really give it too much weighting itself. I'm more of a horizontal guy, this. So what are we going to be looking for here on DOTS? Well, we believe that this market, long term, I think this thing's going to a top 3 in the market cap this cycle. There's just so much development going on. There's so much capital coming in. Nothing but good news for DOTS these days. It's only a matter of time until a lot of these relay networks get some traction and hopefully porting over some Ethereum projects and providing some proof of concepts here. So what are we going to be looking for here? Well, we want this level to be holding as support. So anything below this recent breakout candle, I'd be a little concerned that we were going to go back and retest these range lows here. So you'd be looking for ideally a higher low, right, above this $5 mark, but we'll see. But right now, market structure looks bullish. So we need to break this 6.5, 6.8 resistance. It could do this a couple times, make that double bottom, and then finally burst up. I wouldn't want, if I were in a position, I would probably add on a high momentum breakout like that because, the probability says continuation versus just a head fake. If we did get the breakout, what are we going to be looking for then? Well, the retrace. If you don't miss it, yeah, well, you could be using fib extensions. It's not my cup of gravy, but I know you love it. It all lines up. So we'd be looking for that retest, confirmation, and then off she goes once again. But again, if you're long, I'd be pretty concerned if this low here at 5.7 got taken out. Otherwise, wait for a break of this resistance. You're pretty, what's the upside here if you're getting long? Like, what are you risking, right? Well, here to here, you're looking for a 7% move, right? I'm not interested in that. Why take that risk for 15, 20% downside? Wait for the break. If you miss the break, wait for the retest, and then get long. If it breaks down, it's okay. You haven't lost anything. This market's still bullish, so buying dips is better than trying to guess where you could possibly scrape out a 10%, 15% short side trade.
FOMO early,
Yeah.
and I didn't follow my own rule, and now I'm feeling the FOMO. I don't think it's late. I think like you said, I think let's wait for a new trade to come in, and that was this pump chaser tag. Oops, didn't get it. Okay, so now we have a breakout retest potential. I'll be watching the volume if we do get to new highs, because if that's on high volume, then buying around that breakout level is going to age likely very well. So very keen on DOT as well. I'm not sure which point my audio cut earlier. So I was talking about ALGO, and can't say for sure exactly where. So I will just do a very quick summary here. It looks primed for some upside. The question is when and how far down and where to set up stops. I think this retest of this level, this support is in this pump chaser zone. It's actually just below. So I think this is a decent invalidation. Could be perfect for an entry today. And if this area breaks and gets a close below, then like I said earlier, again, not sure if everyone heard, but I would be looking down into this RLZ. This is really where I want to get long, is down at this sort of 786, kind of VPVR fills out a bit here. There should be some action here if we get down there. But I know in this market, it may not come and give me exactly what I want. So depending on how bullish you are on ALGO, how much you insist on having access to this one in particular, I think trading is a lot easier when you don't really care about any one asset, because then you only take the best opportunities. You want to chase something versus just saying, well, I'll go find the thing that's exactly where I want to get it. So personally, I think this is a good first shot at algo. And then I think if that breaks down, second shot down here around 3,300 sats. Algo is one that's been capturing a lot of people's imaginations, as you can see here. Now, one thing that I have not looked at in a while till today is Ambrosis. And I used it as an educational sort of like a shout on when not to use the pump chaser zone. And the reason was because as it made all these new highs, the volume had fallen off, the MACD had gotten weaker. We weren't seeing the same highs in any of the sort of oscillators. In other words, the momentum internally as well as the volume was dying off as it made new highs. It just looked weak. It didn't look like it was in that sort of rip face mode where you would want to use a pump chaser. So I crossed it out. I said, this is an opportunity here, in my opinion, to be thinking about a reload zone because of some of those other things. Because you don't want to just auto long every 382 pullback, right? Because you need to be in a strong trend to do that. And so I was seeing some internals roll over telling me that it wasn't as strong as perhaps it looked. Now, this was an absolute snipe. If somebody, if you're seeing that reload zone, you're like, okay, cool, I'll just park bids down there. I personally wouldn't have. I would have had like alerts when it gets there, and I wouldn't have gotten a fill because just the alert, and then I would go, and it was already too late. But what a sick wick down on Ambrosis. And that really cleans up the chart in a lot of ways, right? You get that breakout level. We had already tested it, come right back in, tag the sweet spot, and it's got a pretty strong reaction with some new volume coming in. So suddenly, if you eliminate that from the chart, then this pump chaser zone is like right back into play, which is kind of crazy. So it's not about right or wrong, but in this case, it was weaker than it looked. But what a quick recovery, and now it looks like it wants more. So I don't think it's going to go straight up from here, but consolidating in this suddenly looks a lot sexier after that little cleanup of the chart. So Ambrosis is one that's back on my radar, and they work down my short list here before we get into the community coins. I think Atom is one that I will certainly be keeping an eye on. I don't know that there's any reason to long off this high retest. I mean, it's definitely a potential. Again, being greedy, being picky, I'd really like to see it back into this pump chaser zone. At least give me a 382 wick, and I don't see any reason why I couldn't get that. Although, man, Atom is one of those ones where it's like, I wouldn't mind like a free position long term. We can get a double in there. So I do have a slight attachment to this one, but I'm not racing to fill here, although it's definitely a sweet level. As far as like, if you saw this big pump and you were like, I have to have Atom, well, here's your first chance.
And this chart really reminds me of Ethereum, actually. If you take the old summer highs from Ethereum at 360, now that's been a major pivot level for us right now in that market, which has been supporting. So yeah, it's kind of a similar idea. If it holds there, I think it could be a really strong base for another push as long as that level holds.
Yeah, so you're talking about this kind of look on Ethereum?
Yeah, I'm just like comparing the two market structures. So you're saying Atom is holding off on the level off of former, yeah, exactly. You're pulling it far from the left there, very similar to that 360 level that we've been testing and holding on Ethereum. So I don't know I can't read the number there, but as long as that holds, that could be a really good base.
6,300 sats or 63,000 sats.
Yeah.
And no, I know so I mean, TLDR, Atom looks really bullish. It just confirmed a very high time frame structure on the weekly with that close. And so now it's just about, okay, yes, I think this thing's going to go up in the midterm. So it's just about being kind of picky and, okay, where can I get my best entry? Where can I risk to? And with this SR level here, just below the pump chaser zone, I mean, you know me, I'm looking for those chintzy wick fills. We've got this EMA following up is right in there, just approaching that zone. So anything in this kind of low 5,000 sats or 50,000 sats area, I want to be a buyer on Atom because this is a very bullish high time frame structure that just confirmed on volume. So this is one for sort of a more mid to longer term portfolio, ideally a free position with a sell half on the double. So we're looking for, so Binance finally announced the mainnet token swap for Ambrosis, Chris pointed out, which I remember seeing. So that could be a big part of why it did that last rally. And it would also make sense why that last rally wasn't that bullish internally, because that's cool. Okay, Binance is supporting the swap. That's definitely going to be a nice little catalyst. and it's going to help with the big arbitrage between KuCoin that we had been seeing. But it's like, it's not groundbreaking. It's not something that I would say like is going to carry everyone's imagination to new highs. So nice catalyst pump, and then we're going to have to clean this up a bit, which it looks like we have. Now you've been tracking what people are asking about. I've still got BNB and STX.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's a point where we're going to get to these requests because a lot of people have come here saying, chart my bags. What do you think?
Well, I got a couple pulled up here that I think are actually pretty interesting. Why y'all?
Perfect. You know what? Before we switch gears, let me do a quick and dirty on BNB. Because this is a monster coin, very large. As far as centralized exchanges go, this is one that is going to have a really hard time, losing, like you said earlier, to the dexes. Like this is one that's got some staying power, and high time frame just keeps going. It's looking pretty bullish, consolidating here, refusing to tank below this support at 18.5, back up in this little short RLZ, but in another view, really just looks like it put in new bullish structure here with this and this and this, and now we're testing that level. So I've been expecting a move to 2,300 sats for a little while, actually, since this trend line broke. That moment looks like it's very close as far as maybe tagging this level and then continuing. So keeping an eye on BNB. And lastly, we're going pure requests after this. We have Blockstack. I mean, look at this chart. This has got Nick written all over it. Break above that key level, come back down, retest, and it did catch a bounce today. So Blockstack, some kind of mainnet coming up, maybe right around now. Actually, I feel like it was in the future, but that was near end of August, and that is the end of August. So keeping an eye on Blockstack, purely from a technical perspective, I think there's a very big level here that we've crossed over, bounced off. So again, invalidation below this level, but hey, why not flip that and look for trades on it?
Hey, you're buying a retest rather than buying the breakout. So
yeah, it's got a nice tight invalidation. Again, if it does want to come down into this RLZ, well,
so be
cut your loss, and then you have a nice new setup down here. So I'll be keeping that on Blockstack as well. So what have you got, Nick?
Well, I got KNC here. We've been charting this one for a while. It's another decentralized exchange. One of the earlier ones, I believe, as well. It's had a lot of success here, moving up from as lows of 35 cents, currently sitting just under $2. Wyckoff theory prevails once again. Are you surprised? I'm not. Daily retests of this 1.2 level twice. Even the audacity to sweep those lows, absolutely savage. We're ripping back up here, the $2. Look what we got here on the daily. Look at that nice little staircase. You got the Stoke confirming the momentum as well. Just really waiting for that volume to come in. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 retests of this $2 level. So what does that tell you if this thing breaks out? Long consolidation period since June. Right? So we're coming up on 60, 70 days consolidation period. If this thing breaks this resistance, you are going to get an explosive move to the upside. It's not going to be something you're going to be looking to fade, similar to what we saw at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and every other chart that has this consolidation pattern followed by breakout. Same thing to the downside, obviously, but the trend currently is up. So we will view this as a bullish market. So what are we going to be looking for? Well, the routine at this point. We're not looking to buy inside this range. We want the confirmation, even though you do got the higher lows in the consolidation base. You can see this, before it failed down here, has now confirmed once again. It almost kind of looks like a really crappy inverted head and shoulders if you bring this down to the 4-hour. But that aside, just from a market structure point of view, we're going to be looking for something like this, a little bit of come down. Maybe it doesn't quite break. Finally, boom, there she goes. Oh, wow, look at that run, huge. Comes back down. That's what we would want. Form the base. So if you miss this, don't fret too much. Eventually it's going to retrace. If it forms a base here, wow, this is just going to be a classic, 1 staircase, 2 staircase, and the 3rd staircase, right? So you could be looking for Fibonacci extensions. You could be using measured moves to try and predict where this thing's going to go. There's multiple options, but the point is that we're using Wyckoff theory for entries and exits, and this is what we're going to be looking for. This is where you get the real expansion. Like this is the markup. You got the breakout, the retest, and the markup. The markup are the moves that you want to get. Those are essentially, the expansion moves that we always refer to. So it looks good. you know, the volume's been picking up there, constant higher lows. This is a daily chart. I'll bring this down to the 4 hour. You know, same thing. Nice wavy market structure, making higher highs, higher lows, all good as she goes. And moving over to Hxro, this is one more that we had there. And then I guess I'll flip it back to you. This is a filthy market structure. You know, absolutely a huge consolidation down here. Finally breaks out. Where do you chart the Wyckoff? It's tough, but there is a visible level here on the daily. Multiple confirmations of the level, so you're safe to, you know, refer to this as a support level. Not so clean on the upside. A lot of, you know, 100% retraces here. Clearly, you know, okay, there's not too much market history over there. But right now, what are you kind of going to be looking for if you're long? Well, you need this level to hold down here at 22 cents. That's, you know, basically your stop loss, get the fuck out if that breaks level. You're going to be looking for this level right here to break, 35 cents. Why do I say that? Well, you got right off the bars, and you got a confirmation of the level right here. Tried to drive up above it. Nope, rejected back down. And just, you know, constantly a little higher lows. So what are we going to be looking for? Well, exact same thing that we're always looking for. But let's do a refresher. If we can get above here, take out this high, might even just double top. That'd be fine too, because as long as we get a higher base, it confirms bullish market structure and momentum. This is your entry on this double tap retest at that 35-cent level right here. You know, idea is that this resistance is now flipping to support, and we would expect higher prices. If we do not get this turning to support, you know, we're going to be looking back down at this support block to hold. It could just range. Imagine just fucking ranged forever. Wouldn't that be awful?
I mean, that's a huge expansion move off of the bottom so far. Yeah. Doesn't need to continue at a crazy pace, although it is Polkadot, and you got to keep in mind what's the narrative. But yeah, I agree with you. After a huge move like that, a little consolidation or a lot of consolidation. I mean, look at OMG. Right before OMG moved this summer, it was 2 months of consolidation after its initial rally. And a lot of people would have gotten out of that at that point. I think it's down below, like that lower consolidation. Like it pumped sort of pre-summer or into the summer, and then there was just like 2 months of just
painful sideways.
And then you get the big move. So, you know, and that's part of why a lot of the charts that I'll pull up are these kind of more boring consolidation charts, because I want to catch those moves. Perfect example today, BitShares. Did you see BitShares?
No, but you were mentioning it had a ripper.
Classic old BTS. Way too complicated for me in 2017 when I tried to sign up. I always assumed it would age poorly.
It was one of the early asset issuance platforms.
Yeah, and I signed up, and even at my level of savviness at that time, I couldn't figure it out. It was just like buggy and too complicated. But what chart do you got there?
We got a community request for Matic, and like, wow, this, you know, remember this day? That was funny.
I do. I was salty because I had put out a short setup at that top, and I didn't let it fire. I didn't get quite filled, and then I looked the next day. I was like, well, I didn't expect it to short that fucking hard.
Yeah, so I guess what we're looking for here right now is just, you know, if you're a bull, we're looking for this 22 to 24 cent range to hold. You've already had a couple retests confirming, you know, this SR flip right now. So this is your range stop loss. If this goes, you probably want to get out of the market, right? But right now, you know, it's made a higher high here. So what are we going to be looking for? Well, let's pull something off like this. There's a little bit of a level here, sure. So we're going to be looking for the market to drive this thing. Let's get our handy pencil tool out and everything to make a nice visualization for people. We're going to be looking for the market to come up here and back down. This is what we want to see. This is healthy. We want to see this, you know, this area of resistance flip to support. You know, boom, boom, higher low, and a breakout to retest these levels up here. Where is that? And it's about, you know, this 420 mark. Blaze it.
420.
So yeah, this is what we're looking for. Again, this is not complex. This is just simple support resistance flips. Support and resistance are just liquidity blocks, aka resting orders. It's not a mystery of why price stops at certain levels. So anyways, yeah, looking for this higher lows, you know, it'll confirm the momentum, the structure. As long as these lows here hold, this level continues to flip and hold the support. Check box for the bulls. looks okay, right? Matic team, they're constantly doing things. A lot of partnerships getting thrown out with them right now as well. Yeah, I think this looks all right.
Yeah, it's cleaned up a lot after that Omega dump, cascading liquidations on Binance margin that just naturally caused a stir and a shitstorm, and nobody wanted to long it for a while. But it does look pretty cleaned up, and we're back in the bulls, so I'm not surprised to see it moving. I've got RSR over here on my chart, and this is one that I just came back to. I must have drawn this up, would have been back around the end of July. I haven't really looked at it. I've got a free position in RSR already from January. When was January?
That's a hodl. Yeah,
it's a sick one. It was like down here, sell half on a double, and I'm just riding it. It's like 5x now or whatever it is. But what's silly is that because I have that free position, it's almost like I've checked it off my list. I don't even look at it anymore, which is dumb because I'm still really bullish on it. I don't know. Did it just top though? Let's take a look. So we've got the fib extension, which came in again, just beautiful coming into this take profit area. And then from that, you could, and it looks like I did, although I haven't been trading this, it looks like it's been going perfectly for the chart I put together, whenever that was, right back down into this support level, sweet spot tag, picture perfect, very beautiful, chart porn kind of stuff. And then new bullish market structure. God, I wish I was trading this chart because apparently I drew it up nicely. But once this fresh structure came in, yeah, no chance you're going to catch that if you're looking for a breakout unless you're staring at it when it happens and just going balls to the walls, market long. So not much of a trade on the breakout there. If you were anticipating it, perhaps, just getting long off this level, which is sort of my style as far as just like planting bids in reload zones. But off it went, and now it is up into this next fib extension level, which you would then draw from the low up to the high. And that gives you an idea of where price will stall, people will take profit, things like that. And as you can see, that's exactly what's happening. Now, here's why I jokingly said, but also low-key serious, did RSR just top for the time being? Let's take a look. We've got lower highs coming in on the MACD, which means, yes, it's pushing higher, but the momentum, and you can even see it on the chart, the momentum is just slowing. Huge momentum, small momentum, smaller momentum. So are we putting in a midterm or short-term top? Bottom line is this thing is trending up. It is bullish, but I'd be cautious, especially if I was thinking about trying to get long. Very cautious up here with the momentum slowing and the volume kind of pulling off a little bit. So what would I be looking for if I'm a bull and I want to get long and I don't want to buy this top? Well, let's get the pump chaser fib out. Let's see what it gives us. We get this low, sort of the latest low. So I would want to start here. And that's the Chaos PRZ, so it's way off the charts. Let's go back to pump chaser. Yeah, I mean, that's the best I got as far as like next kind of play from strength type entry. It is tricky to chase a trend and trickier still, the further into a trend it gets. So let's pull this down correctly. But look, yeah, that's it. Not much to say about that. I think if anything, I would be looking for bids around here, probably consolidating in here. Wouldn't be that bearish. I think anything above this level, which you can already see was a top and got a perfect test. So I don't think this level needs a test right now. Could very easily be front run by this pump chaser fib. But RSR is one I'm bullish on. I really like it as a project. And a lot of people I know that are smart, arguably smarter than me at these kinds of things, they're really bullish on it. So that's why I originally bought it back here. And I'll be riding that position probably for a year or two. It's small enough that I don't have to stare at it and care about it. And it's free now. And I think in here there will be a trade soon, but this is not a long position here for me starting anyways. Certainly not. Protect your capital. Don't buy the top. Now,
I got a couple more. I want to keep going.
Yeah, tag team. Back to Nick. What do you got? I'm going to pull one up too.
All right, Cote BTC. I know we've covered this one a couple times. I know our analysis has been 100% accurate on it. So let's take a quick look at what's going on Cote right now. This is a very clean Wyckoff chart. Like, it doesn't get any prettier than this. Every chart we pulled up today, what's working? Wyckoff is working. So what are we seeing here right now? Well, we had that first support test back down there at 500. Boom, resistance turns support. Support, resistance. Flips, confirms the market structure once again here. and here, right? Confirms this low. Market continues up, hits the resistance, consolidates, and you get the surge, right? That's great if you're already in this trade, fantastic. But more often than not, what happens? They fade back down. This is exactly what's happened today. This is a 4-hour chart for your reference. So what are we looking for right now? Well, if the market's still bullish, we need to hold this 700 sat level, right? We had a consolidation period about, what is this, from the 13th? So about 2 weeks here, right? So not the longest consolidation pattern, which, the strength of the breakouts are going to be usually proportionate to the consolidation and the accumulation or distribution if it's a top. I don't think necessarily we're in head fake territory just yet, but as the majors roll over, I guess. But right now they look pretty strong. So as long as the support level holds, what are we going to see? Well, we've already got that first tap. If we can go up, right to here or something each, and get rejected, come back down, confirm the second one, and then I think you'll be good for another run up. Again, I don't know too much about this project. I'm just looking at this straight from a market technical analysis perspective, and the chart looks healthy from the TA perspective. Moving over quickly here to the wrapped NXM. I don't know where to pull up that NXM chart, so I did just grab the wrapped portion of it. I know they're different, but very similar thing here. It's broken these highs. It's come back down right now. I think odds are we're probably going to see a retest of this level here. So what are you looking for? A bullish retest. You're looking at another 10%. So that's not too bad. So what would we be looking for this to hold here? Well, let's see. We already know we're looking for that SR flip. Bang, bang. Probably back up to here, eh? Whoop. And what we're going to want to see is just a higher consolidation base, right? You want to see these nice staircases, and then another higher one. That's the structure you want. That's a healthy trending market, right? So again, this totally is. We haven't really tested this zone other than this one wick here, which sure enough, right, takes the resistance, flips it to support, boom, she fucking rockets. This happens more often than not. So if we do get that retest down here and a whole, this is where you're probably going to be finding the bids coming in. So I'd be waiting for that. This doesn't necessarily inspire a lot of confidence right now. Again, this is just a 4-hour chart. Even the hourly's been making its way down. But you can see here quickly, this was a huge support level, right? Well, look what happened. Breaks down, retests it, and now it has enough, it's taken liquidity, and now it's ready to move lower. So you can
it's searching for support.
Yeah, exactly. It's searching for support. What a great way of framing that.
Where will the bulls step in? And it's like you pointed out a number of times today, and we're going to keep seeing it every single day because that's just how it works. Yeah. It's going to go down to a level where there's enough bulls watching that level that they're going to have their bids there, and the sellers will dry up, and we'll see where it goes from there. And a bull market tends to be up.
Yeah.
I got a real sexy one here for you.
Let's see it.
Oh, this apparently is a polka dot project. So that makes it sexy. Now, this level it's at, again, the wicks on here, it's Uniswap, it's ETH, very wiki. So exactly where to draw this band is a bit of a trick. I chose to draw it starting at the candle high here and just giving it a little width and capturing this candle low here. So what we have is a breakout, and let's see what the relative volume is. Nothing crazy, not huge volume. But now we've just kind of trickled back down. If anything, it looks like it could be a descending triangle. But I don't really trade triangles. What I do trade is levels. And looking at this, I see it's tagged to the sweet spot of the move from here. So again, getting my fib out, drawing from the low to the high, watching it retrace into that zone. So I do like that. I think this is suddenly in an area where I'll be starting to think about longs because I don't really have too much polka dot stuff exposure for all the times we talk about it. Haven't really traded it much. And I think pretty good invalidation levels just below here. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to use the 786 as my stop, but let's see what kind of structure we can get, because what I'll be looking for really is, so just say we put in this low here, and I'll make that white so it stands out a bit more. I think, so you get the breakup, and then it's, can we get that higher low? And then it's the break of this that confirms continuation. That's going to make a higher high. It's likely going to be a signal that this downtrend here is coming to an end, which I would actually probably want to draw off the wicks. Maybe this wick here. Right, so we're in this little downtrend. We've broken through it, so let's put in a higher low breakout, and that's really the confirmation. But I think I'm comfortable actually trying to put in this higher low and buying the retest of this trend line, buying the support here, and then just long it. And probably, since there's no stop losses on Uniswap, I'll have to just set some alerts and hopefully have a chance to get out if it does trade back down to these levels, in which case, at the very least, it's just consolidating and boring. At the worst, it's going to shit the bed. So probably getting out if it goes back down here, probably getting in right around here actually later today. Like OM. So whoever brought that up, thank you, because it's been brought up a few times and just hasn't really presented me what I wanted to see, but it's pretty much there now.
Yeah, that's good.
Gorgeous. So that brings us close to the end of the show today. We've got a couple more requests. I think we could touch on TOMO, Comp, and Band. And then that would be us for the day. We'll be back Wednesday at 2 p.m., Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if this time works for you, great. If not, hopefully catch us on a rewatch. And if you haven't already, hit us with a like, hit us with a sub. If you're watching, give us a sub. It's worth your time. If it's not, you wouldn't be watching. But we're not done yet, David, just yet. We've got 3 more coming up, TOMO, Comp, and Band.
I got Band ready to go. And I think that was even David's request. Look at that.
Beautiful.
I'm up. Awesome. Well, Band is up too. I'm not the only one. What are we looking for here right now? Wow, this 4-hour level right here, 9.9. If this goes, it's all over. Sorry, Band guys. Anyways, higher highs, higher lows. What does this kind of look like? Kind of looks like an ascending triangle to me, doesn't it? Well, let's quickly draw that out for everybody. Obviously, you don't got the Stoke on your side, but that's okay. So what are we looking at here? Well, draw this forward and take this forward. Wow, kind of looks like an ascending triangle, doesn't this whole structure here? Generally, ascending triangles are a continuation pattern in the trend. Again, I think this is really going to come down to what the majors do next. If we break this horizontal resistance, what are we going to be looking for? Well, there's a lot of untapped liquidity right up here around that $15 mark right there. So we'd be looking for something like this, an up thrust right above this local resistance and retesting the top of this ascending triangle. Then we would have enough momentum to go take out these highs at $17. Where's your invalidation point at this, right? Well, if you're getting long it here for some reason, hoping for this break, again, the keyword is hoping for this breakout. Never a great trading strategy, by the way. You definitely want to see these lows here hold. Why? Because we have a higher low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low. That's confirmation of a bullish midterm trend. If we see invalidation below that, then that'll have bearish momentum will be on your mind. Have things reversed? So on the downside of that, if it does break below these lows, it could come back up, fail, and go back right down there. Retest there. This is like the most bearish scenario I can think of, right? Markets rarely just go down in one candle. They like to do this, this staircase up or down. So that's generally our theory on this stuff. Again, why fight the trend, right? Why try and predict the tops? It's a fool's man errand. So just wait. Just wait for this break.
Yeah, you gotta think long term with trading and probabilities. And yeah, you might be right on one time that you're buying resistance or selling support. Like if you make, and that's actually the most dangerous kind of trade, is the trade where you don't follow your plan or you do something bad, quote unquote, and you get rewarded for it, because it teaches you that whatever you did there, that mistake you essentially made you money, and then you're like, see, it works. And it's actually the more dangerous kind of trade. If you fuck up and lose money, it's not as bad, because you're like, oh shit, that hurt. You get a slap on the wrist, you learn from it, maybe you adjust something. But it's getting rewarded for making bad decisions is actually really dangerous. And that happened to a lot of people in 2017. Not taking profit was very rewarding through 2017. How did that age? Not so hot. So something I wanted to point out there as you were talking about it, tracking your behavior in the market is always something I recommend. And then you can actually see the stuff on paper. Now, flipping back over here, I've got TOMO. Now, TOMO is in the pump chaser zone. So let's just delete this, make this very clear. It did get a nice rally off of a consolidation. Again, I think it was in March, April, May, somewhere in here. I was planting longs, didn't hold it all the way through, but I got one trade off on TOMO earlier this year. It is back into the pump chaser zone. It looks like it crapped out here in a way, but it actually did make a higher in the MACD. There was some divergence on the Willy though. And let's take a look at the OBV. So got unbalanced volume. Yeah, it's making new highs. Kind of looks like it might be rolling over. I'm seeing refresh. I want to make sure we're still live. Oh, okay. My YouTube's just reloading. That's weird. Okay, so real quick, it is in the pump chaser zone. So yeah, there's a trade here for continuation potentially. It has kind of already checked this breakout level. I don't know that I'd want to hold it below this wick low here. I don't think. I mean, there's a node on the VPVR. I'd be looking to get out if we start trading back down here, because in that case, I'd want to just wait for it. Let's see. Down here. Oh, what? Oh dear. Did I just reset my template somehow? There it is. Okay. Yeah, I'd want to be looking down here to get back in if we lose this level here. So my 2 cents on TOMO is, it's getting pretty close to a spot where I could long. But if we fail and lose this low, back into the RLZ, back into this big. Yeah. Run to the hills. Get the hell out. If we lose, what is that? 8,000 sats. Yeah. So we're at 89. So it's pretty tight. It's a nice tight kind of setup. I mean, you're risking 9% with potential for, continuation upside. So I actually like TOMO around these levels. It's not bad at all. And no one's really talked about it since it made its high back on August 13th. It's been quiet. So it's when these coins, it's when they get sleepy that you really want to be looking at these things.
Yeah.
All right, last one for the day. Comp.
That thing's on a tear with all this DeFi craze going on.
Yeah, I'm seeing calls for new highs on comp on Twitter. That doesn't mean anything because you see that about every coin every day. But
actually,
for what it's worth, I do remember that. Now, I might actually have an old chart here if you don't. Okay, yeah. Let's look at yours.
I'll quickly do something up here, but I think this speaks for itself, really. Like, where's this going? Probably going to go test these highs, isn't it?
Can I long it here, Nick?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Maybe earlier today, like you had an opportunity to get long right down here. Thank you, Wyckoff, once again for allowing such a kind entry.
Retest.
Yeah. So you had the little breakout there above this resistance range. All right. Look at that. Took these highs. What happened? Faded back down. What happened then? Those highs flipped to support. That gives you the momentum we need to push up. So where are we headed? Well, I think we're going to go back up this 260 range and test this. Trying to find where you can find a good entry off that. Like I said, like what are you really looking for at this point? Like you got another 7%. Well, you've just missed the majority of the move, right? Your risk here is going to be insane. But yeah, I would wait for this to retest. I guess the trademark signature squiggly lines, here they come. Boom, retest. It could even, like, this would be the most ideal situation to allow for an entry. It's that it actually breaks these highs and then you get the retest, right? That, this would be slightly higher. But that would be the ideal entry. This resistance, literally all-time highs, flipping to support, very similarly to what we've been tracking in gold, actually, now that I think about it. Same thing with Ethereum at 360. This would be the ultimate buy. Seen support form above or at the all-time high levels. Once it started to move, I don't think there'd be an opportunity to fade that you wouldn't want to. Should be a high momentum move up. Again, all of this assumes crypto continues to move forward, full steam ahead. Current volumes in Uniswap and DeFi and DEXs and the amount of wrapped Bitcoin moving over to Ethereum all says that the engines are go. So let's see what happens here. But again, I wouldn't FOMO here. I'd wait for the retest and then get the expansion move, the price discovery. Who knows where it's going to go?
Well, yeah, because if it clears that level, right? It's price discovery. Now, look, something's going on. I can still hear you. I'm assuming the stream is still picking me up, but none of my charts, all my Chrome stuff is just not loading. So I'm going to ask a special request here for Jonesy, who's here with us every single day, and he has asked about TRB. And I think that would be a really nice way to cap us off today. And I'm going to have to lean on you because apparently tech gods hate me.
Oh God, it's in a downtrend on the intraday. Maybe there's a better chart I can pull here from the BTC pair. Wobie? Who listed this
Yeah,
first?
my guess is Wobie. Yeah.
Let's go with the Chinese overlords. And they
You
are.
play StarCraft, don't you?
I do. I'm a fan of StarCraft. We still have to play, my friend. Anyways, what are we looking for here? This is okay, right? This is actually looks pretty healthy now that you view it on the 4 hour. Why? Well, you got the momentum resetting, and you got the VZO resetting, which is just kind of another momentum indicator. What are we looking for? We already know what we're looking for. We've had the breakout. Congratulations, you missed it. But it's okay because it's coming back for round 2, baby. So if we see some support form here like this, where are you buying? You're buying right about here, above this 5,000 or 5,000.
Yeah, that is actually coming into a nice level there. TRB. That's actually one. Now that's an Oracle coin, if I'm not mistaken. Off the top of my head, I remember that being on that sort of list when Chainlink started pumping and we started pulling up Oracle ideas in our group like UBT, Unibright, TRB. And I remember looking at TRB thinking like, man, that thing is just too fast for me. I can't chase it. But we are now at a point, so thank you for bringing that up, Jonesy, where I can take serious interest in TRB from a position of strength if we catch what Nick's looking at, right? Just the way he wrote it up.
My trusty trading view alarms. I can't live or trade without those.
Yeah, so make sure to ping me when that goes off. I'm going to set mine up as soon as my Chrome comes out of paralysis here. It's really strange. I don't know what's going on.
All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for all those charts.
Appreciate the engagement today, guys, coming out with us on this Monday to wrap up August. I think out of all the things we talked about, hopefully you found some really good value in it. Lots of charts here that are doing these kinds of retest, pump chaser fib visits, ETH BTC testing the highs, Bitcoin dominance testing the lows, ready to break down. We are either on the cusp of the nastiest, most savage fake out ever, or we're about to absolutely melt faces. Tune in Wednesday to check with us at 2 p.m. Eastern time, because if we are going to melt faces, the rally that is coming is likely going to make everything we've seen thus far this year look like an anthill. And I'm I'm really excited about that. Not to sound like a moon boy, but I'm feeling like a moon boy right now if we break those highs on ETH BTC. So until next time, guys, remember, always play from a position of strength.
Don't FOMO into the moon.